Hello, and welcome back to the Big Boss Show. It's a new show where we come to you every week with somebody that may have not always been a big boss, but shares his or her perspective that we can learn from. Today, I'm joined by a very special guest. Um, Elizabeth Bachman is an international opera director and presentation skills director. Did I say that name right? Welcome to the show.
uh, Presentation skills trainer. Yeah.
Okay.
Elizabeth Bachman, the American pronunciation.
Okay, sweet. So, take me back. How did you get into this?
Well, I like to think that I've been dedicated to the art of great communication since I first walked on stage at the age of 5. And afterwards, I heard my mom tell her friends that I was the best goddamn bunny rabbit ever to grace the stage of the Hillside School. And I was hooked. So I went from acting to directing opera singers to training business professionals. Along the way, I started and ran a summer opera company for 11 years. And now what I do is use what I learned in 30 years of training presenters, singer presenters, to help business professionals be better speakers. Especially, I work a lot with women, helping to get women's voices out there. Women, especially who have a seat at the table now, but still hit the glass ceiling, still aren't being listened to. And that was me. So, I have my scars from glass ceilings. So I teach now what I wish I had known then.
Okay. Was it were like influenced by your parents? Would you?
Well, for the opera, I was influenced by my parents and my grandmother, the grandmother who was near us, my grandmother was a very studious person, and she spoke 8 languages and was a noted scholar, even though she was a girl and she wasn't allowed to go to college because she was a girl. But she's the one who made sure that all 3 of us kids, my 2 sisters and I, that we all spoke multiple languages. We started off with French because, as far as she was concerned, French was the language of civilization. And so we all started with languages, and with the intention, mine at least, was to have an international life. And apparently I told them when I was 12 that I was going to be a citizen of the world, which I don't remember having declared, but it is indeed the way I feel.
Okay, awesome. Where are you based out of?
I'm based both in Portland, Oregon and San Francisco. And then half the year I'm based in the Austrian Alps, where I work with my European clients.
Okay, got you. And from what I understand, a lot of your clients are women, right?
Yeah, it seems to be. I do work with men, but it does seem to be women who show up at my doorstep.
Okay. What are some of the challenges that women particularly face in the workplace?
One of the challenges that women face is they don't feel like they're being listened to. And quite often the reason is because the single focused bosses or upper management, could be male or female, are really focused on one thing at a time. Whereas the multi-focused women speak to other women by talking about lots of things at once. You may have noticed, Dave, if your female friends never seem to get to the point. It's fine in conversation, but it's a problem in business. Western business is built on the single focus principle. So quite often what I do is I help women especially learn how to speak to men in a way that men can hear, rather than the trap of speaking to a man the way they'd speak to another woman and then not being taken seriously.
I mean, who does this particularly involve? Is because it could be like it could be anybody, right?
Well, I mostly work with high level clients, more women than men, but men as well. High level people in tech and law. So this is kind of a universal challenge, whether you're not being listened to by the opposite sex. But it's the women who have gotten to a certain point through skill and ability. And then maybe you can get to senior director, running a department, running a division, but you can't get to vice president or C-level because skill and ability only takes you so far. And then after a certain point, it's politics. And that's where the glass ceiling comes in. And solving those, learning how to speak in a way that you are considered a strategic thinker, someone who should be at the vice president or C-level, that's a way of how you present yourself, how you show up. And that is the problem that I solve, is teaching people how to do that.
Okay. So it doesn't have to be a prerequisite to be a strategic thinker.
When you get to high level in a corporation, and I'm really talking about corporate politics here, to become a vice president or C-level, you've got to be thinking strategically about the entire company. You've got to be thinking 6 months, 12 months, 2 years ahead. And what happens is I find a lot of my clients tend to be very, very smart people who know a whole lot about their subject, but they haven't actually said that they are strategic. And sometimes really what you have to do is just say the word, I am a strategic thinker. Show people that you're a strategic thinker. If you don't tell them, they're going to think of you as the person you used to be, who was just the problem solver. And that's kind of the worker bee level, if you will.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And so you mean this is like more for like big companies, or it could be?
I mostly work with, I have been an entrepreneur my entire working life, and I used to work with entrepreneurs, but lately I've been working more with corporate employees who want to rise, who want to have a better career, because I find that spot where you get stuck at the top of your division, but you can't get past it to the vice president, to the executive level. That's where I find that my combination of talents and knowledge seems to fit the best.
Okay. Do you come from a corporate background?
I've run a company, and I haven't had the many years in corporate, but I have done enough time in corporations and with hierarchies that I understand the principles.
I got you. I mean, what's one thing, if somebody was listening to this and wanted to improve their work or their career situation, and they want to get next level, what's like one thing that you could tell them to get that promotion or whatever?
What I would suggest is be sure you're one of the ones who's making the presentation, even if you haven't been making presentations yet, do a part of a presentation. And then when you do it very well. Make sure, specifically nowadays when we're on video so much, make sure you have good lighting. Make sure you are dressed appropriately, that you don't have a background that is the same color as your outfit, or your skin, so that you fade into the background. And be clear, be concise. So the main thing would be, make sure that, first of all, that you're doing presentations. And then secondly, if you're doing presentations, that you're doing a good presentation that positions you as an expert.
Yeah. And I guess you could take that to like if somebody was getting an interview, that could also apply too as well.
That works very much for an interview. The other thing, I think actually rule number one, it's what I should have started with, is rule number one is make it about them. What do they need to know? What do they care about? It's also a great way to get past stage fright, because if you're nervous, if you're afraid of speaking in public or being the presenter, most of the time that means that the voices in your head are telling you, oh, they're going to think I'm stupid. They're going to think I don't know what I'm talking about. They're going to not want to pay attention to me. All about they're going to think, what you think they're going to think. And the truth is, you can't know what's in their brain. If they are there to listen, they want you to be interesting. We've all spent much too much time in boring meetings. They want you to be interesting. They want you to be good. If you think about them and what you are giving them, that the information you're delivering is a gift, that gets you out of your own head and helps to quiet all the voices that are trying to shut you down.
That's great. That's really, I'm really glad that you mentioned that, because I think too many times we are talking about what we've done instead of what we can do and where we're going. Where did you grow up? Were you from?
I grew up in Portland, Oregon, and went east to college. Went to college in Connecticut. I was a theater major, so I got caught by New York City, moved to New York City for a while. And once I started directing operas, I realized that New York was just as provincial as the provinces, quote unquote, and that I could be anywhere. And so I moved to San Francisco, and I was there for 30 years. I've just recently moved back into the family house in Portland, Oregon.
You know, I'm fascinated by people, and I'm always like eager to learn from people that are more experienced than me. How do you apply this when maybe you're feeling burnt out, or you know, like how do you avoid that when you're trying to speak?
Burnout is a whole other category. Burnout, self-care is very important, and self-care has to come first. Take care of yourself, make sure you eat well, make sure you exercise, make sure you sleep, all that, those good things. If you are burnt out, you're not going to do a great job. But one of the things about speaking in public, not even within your company, but it helps a whole lot then to also get out and do presentations within your industry, speaking in public, because that gets you validation from the people who otherwise take you for granted. And so that will help. You do know that's coming up. You know, you almost never have to jump in overnights. Once you have a standard speech, a signature speech or two, you can do it over and over again. You do have to do the work to create it the first time, but then you can polish it and use it again and again and again and again. It could be as short as 7 minutes and as long as 3 hours. I like to think of presentations with a model that can be expanded or contracted.
I love it. I love like how a lot of the advice is really simple advice, but it's probably some of the best. What if you don't know what you want to offer? Like, you don't know what your value add is?
Well, go back to rule number 1, make it about them. What do your ideals, who are the people you want to reach? Either as an entrepreneur, who are the clients and the customers you want to reach? If you're within an organization, who are the people who should know how smart you are? Who are the people that you want to have watching for you and promoting you? What is it that they need to hear? What is it that they want? Actually, there's one of my favorite techniques. If you've decided you're going to go speak, which is the first big decision, start recording what are the things that bother you about your industry. What are your pet peeves? And a great way to do this is to get together with a couple of friends and a bottle of wine or some sort of libation and complain. Just get together and just complain about all the things that bug you, all the things that annoy you. You have permission to do it for a certain time, set a timer. And once you've written down all the problems, which of those are things where you could offer a solution? Because I believe that anytime you're doing a presentation, especially outside your company, you should be offering a solution. The people who are listening to you are people who have a problem, and they are hoping that you're going to give them some information that they can use.
Okay, great. Is there anything else you want to mention or you want to add? Maybe.
One of the great ways to find out how your presentation skills are doing is to take my quiz. It's called speakforresultsquiz.com. And it's a free 4-minute assessment where you can see where your presentation skills are strong and where perhaps you might need a little bit of support. And that's a great thing. And if you score high enough, you can have a free conversation with me to talk about the results to see, oh dear, I'm only ranked myself at a 2 in this section. Let's talk about what I could do to fix that.
Okay, great. Well, it's been a pleasure, and this is the website for that is you want to tell them how to get to that?
Speakforresultsquiz.com.
Okay, great. There you have it. It'll be also in the description, of course. And I appreciate you for coming on.
Thank you so much, Dave.